Hello Soloists, Agent Solo Matt Rice here, going to run through a game of Empires of the North, the Imperial Settlers line of games. I'm going to play this solo. I've got the base set, I've got a couple other expansions, but I'm just going to play with the base game and using their solo booklet. And I'm going to go through and have a go at this Winter is Coming scenario. Now, first of all, the overview of this game. It's kind of a card tableau building type game. I've recently played Lost Ruins of Arnak, and this is kind of like a quicker card version of that. You know, some people will argue which is better or worse, but look, I'm going to show you how this game works. I've only just recently been playing a few games of this, and thought I'd show it off. So what you do, you choose a clan. So I've chose this, I think it's a name for it. I think it's the Glen clan, I think, or the harpsichord. And what you first do is put out your 3 basic cards, have a different colour back to the rest. Here's the rest of the deck, different colour back. You put them 3 out and you get the resources listed on these. So I've got a fish, 2 rock and 2 wood. I apologise if that's the wrong resource name. You grab 2 pawns. I've only got 2 pawns with stickers on them at the moment. They're meant to have an X on both sides. It's meant to be just the same colour, but doesn't matter. I'm only playing solo. So red and blue for me, but you can choose 2 red, 2 blue, 2 green, whatever. You set up these little tiles. These are coming little tiles. And the white side face up. Talk about how the yellow side works once we get going in the game. You put these in random order. You shuffle them up, put them in random order, so it's different each time you play the game. I've also got over here, this is my scoring track. So I'm on 0, that's the round tracker. You play for 4 rounds as solo. I've got distant islands, the ones with the whale on it, and nearby islands, the ones with the Loch Ness or serpent monster on it. Ready to go down here as well. I've got my deck of cards ready to go, and I'm about to start a setup. I've got my 2 ships for this clan. Okay, I've got 5 worker pawns with my spent worker tile. They're all available to me as well. And as the game goes, we'll play cards, we'll build up a little empire that will help us get points. So the aim of the game is to have a certain amount of victory points to win. So if I go to Winter is Coming, which is I guess it's more like a tutorial, I think, scenario. I've played it a couple of times with different clans, and it seems to be easy to get. I don't know. I tend to lose some of these games, but this one doesn't seem too bad. It's more of like a get to know the game. And what we have to do is to beat 30 victory points. I think if you equal it, you win as well. I haven't checked that rule. And as solo, what kind of happens is you've got to get 30 victory points, and you have these little rule changes in the game. In fact, while I'm here, I'm going to get 3 extra food, which looks like tomatoes. Some people think it looks like apples. I don't know. That's really bloated tomatoes. So I'm going to put them in my little resource pile as well. Start with those. There's an extra action I can take in this game. I'll talk about how actions work as we get playing. I think I might just play this game and I'll explain what I'm doing. I can spend 2 workers to gain fish. They've activated any number of times. Normally an action gets exhausted as you play the card. Scoring changes in the game. I have to feed all my workers a food or a fish. So that slash during games means or. So 1 food or 1 fish for each worker, otherwise I lose 3 stars if I have any that aren't fed in the game. This is an event that happens at the start of each round or at the end of the lookout phase. And this is like an extra action you can use once per round as well to get yourself some points. Okay, and I'll keep that nearby to reference. Alrighty guys, so let me go through some setups. So in this part of the setup, you draw 5 cards, turn them over, and you'll get to choose 3 to keep. For free, and you take 2 away, basically. So I'm going to do that off the side of the camera. Okay, so I've kept 3 cards out of my deck. You'll see that there's sort of spending symbols. Some say different things like, you have to do populate to play, explore to play, things like that. Then you've got the lookout phase, which means you draw another 4 cards. And for any of these 4 cards that you draw, if you want to keep any of these, you have to spend a worker per card you keep. So you start off with 5 workers. I'm going to look at these cards and tell you which ones I'm going to keep. So I've decided to keep these 2 cards, and I've spent 2 Okay, so I start this first round with only 3 workers, and this goes into my hand. My hand is now a size of 5 cards. Okay, what else can you do when it gets to your turn? As part of the lookout phase as well, you grab these 5 tokens, you shuffle them up. You can also use like a random generator and a calculator or something. You draw one. This is going to be the event from the solo game. So I get event number 5. And event number 5 says, spend 1 sheep. I don't have any sheep. Or exhaust 1 field location, unexhausted during the cleanup phase. So I'm going to start off with one of these fields exhausted. I'm going to start with the fish zone exhausted. So on your turn, you can pay resources to build these cards, and each of these cards have like an action or a feature or something on it. So for example, this one here, and because there's no other opponents, you just keep taking turn after turn after turn after turn until you can't take any turns during a round. And you've got 4 rounds to try and achieve the 30 victory point threshold. So I can spend, for example here, spend a rock, which I've got down here somewhere. Spend a rock to put this out there, and this is now part of my tableau, and I can use its action once per round, unless I have other cards I can refresh things like that. So I can use it, I can spend a worker to get a gold coin. Okay. I've got other things here, like another one here that I can spend a timber to build, and I can put it in my play area, and I can spend 2 workers to gain a raise token and a fish, and that gets exhausted. Things like that. This symbol here is discarding a card from hand to gain a nearby island. Now I'm going to fill them out in a moment once we get playing as well. So that's one thing you can do. Other things you can do is take your pawn and take one of these actions around the board here. If you take these actions and you finish the round with these pawns and those bits, these get flipped over and they become dearer to use. So for example, this explore, if I've used it in a round, and for the next round, I've got to spend a food to explore again next round. Okay? So things like that happen. So stop you from trying to spam a certain objective. You can put 2 of your pawns in the same area during your turn. You can also use a pawn twice. I could populate to get a worker into my supply, so a new worker into my supply, and then I can exhaust this. So I can do it once per pawn, exhaust this to go to an adjacent tile. So I could go to explore here, where I draw another card. Okay, but that means I can't use it again. This blue one, I could use construct. Construct means I get to build for free instead of having to spend the resource on my card. I can build for free. But then if I want to use it again, if I want to go to sail, for example, I have to turn this over, exhaust it. Other things here, so construct is build for free instead of paying resources. Harvest means you get resources from one of these fields and exhaust it. Sail, I'll talk more about that in a moment, but sail lets you go out into the nearby and distant islands to either pillage or raise. And I might talk about more of them in a moment. Populate gets you a worker. I think that's it. Okay, so simple little tasks you can do. So this is during the action phase. I can either spend a card, or do one of these actions out here. Okay, let's have a closer look at maybe the distant and nearby islands. There's an action phase, then there's the expedition phase. So if you manage to get a ship out here, okay. So this is in the solo mode. If it was in multiplayer, you just line up all your ships down here, and the top one gets to choose first. If I have a ship with just a ship on its own, I can pillage the left-hand side, the nearby islands. So pillage will grab you certain resources. If I pillage this, I get two food and a victory point. Okay. If I want to pillage the right-hand side, the distant islands, I have to pay a fish first before I go in the expedition phase. And these pillaging generally will get you a fish back, I think, but give you a bit more resources. How do you conquer an island? Because it talks about here, spend to conquer. You have to get a raise token. So to get raise tokens, there's certain cards that can help me get raise tokens. So that's a raise token there. If I have that on a ship, so if I go out with just a raise token, I can conquer either of these 2 islands, or I could pillage. I can't do both. So I might want to conquer the Spider Island. So I'll grab that. That goes to my empire, and that's an extra action. And plus conquering it gives me another freebie as well. In that case, of food. If I want to conquer the distant islands, I'll need a fish and a raise token to be able to conquer over there. Once you grab one, you just replace it with a new card. Simple as that. And then the ships come back, and then you have a cleanup phase where things get refreshed. And then you go to the next round, move the round marker forward one, keep going for 4 rounds. Also with solo, don't forget sometimes there's extra actions. So this one here can be spent at any time to spend 2 extra workers to gain a food, to gain a fish. This one's once per round. I can spend a rock, food, and fish to gain 4 points. Beautiful. Alrighty, let's start the game. So I've got 3 workers available to me. This is what I might do first. I'm just going to spend using a rock to build my small market. These guys like to use a bit of a market. And I'm going to put this into my tableau area. Okay, and I can do this now. I can exhaust this, and I can do this at any time. So that's my second little thing I can do. I can spend a worker to gain a gold coin. Gold coin can be traded for any resource, but not raise tokens. Raise tokens aren't resources. But I can use this as any resource. Put that into my resource pile. I next might build this shipyard. Give this a go. This is a special one. I could spend timber to put it out there. And I might use this action straight away. I can spend another timber to discard a card from my hand to take any nearby island and immediately add it to your empire. So I've built that. I'm going to use its action by spending my last timber and discarding a card from hand. So I'm going to discard just this card from my hand. And I get to add a nearby island, so it's the left-hand side here. So I'm going to grab this one. I can add this to my empire. It's like I've conquered it already. Okay. I believe I get the building bonus in doing it this way, so I get a little food. And that's another thing I could use to spend. So I can spend a food to gain 2 food. So I'm going to spend a food. So technically I've spent it, and I'm going to gain 2 back. So spend it, gain 1 back. And I've exhausted that as well. So that adds to your empire. Excellent stuff. Of course, we replace the nearby island with a new one as well, which looks kind of handy too. Next thing I might do is do this buried pantry. So I have to spend a rock and a food and a fish. I've got all that stuff. So fish, food, and rock. And I can do this. This is only once per round. I'll get myself 4 points. So I'm on the board. So I'm going to jump up to 4. Okay, I need to get to 30 by the end of the game. Other ways of scoring points, by the way, too, is you get a point per island that you've conquered and a point per card that you have out here. That will help you get to the points at the end as well. Okay, it might be time to do some of this stuff here. I might construct, and that means I construct for free. I'm going to construct competition for free. Competition for free. And I'm going to put that into my empire as well. I think I might then harvest. So I'm going to use my other pawn for harvesting, not use the double action with that one. I'm going to gain resources from harvest. I'm going to turn the old forest over to get 2 timber resources. Put that in here as well. Okay, so with my empire, I've got this action I can do. I can spend a timber and a food. I've got that. Timber, food. And then as that action, I get 2 points and retrieve a worker back. So I'm going to get myself 2 more points. Up to 6. Fantastic. And I get a worker back. So back from spent, I've got 3 workers again. And then I'm going to spend my last timber. I've got there to build this. And as its action, I'm then going to spend 2 workers to gain a raise token and a fish. So use that. Spend these 2 workers. I'll get myself a raise token and a fish. Beautiful. I'm out of cards in my hands, but I can do other things. If you want to use the pawn again, the adjacency pawn part, I can spend a food. So I'll do that. Spend a food, and then I'm going to move this one towards exhaust over here to sail, to put an expedition on the board. I'm going to put it out with a raise token and put it near the islands over here at the top. So I've done all my actions. We can go to expedition phase. So the top ship gets to choose what I want to do here. So I'm going to raise, so spend the raise token. I didn't have a fish here, so I have to raise the left-hand side. The ship goes back to my area. I can either raise one of these two. I think I might get the Mantis Island, and I'm going to add that to my empire. Keep in mind this is the expedition phase, so I can't use this action just yet. Add that to my empire. And then we head into the cleanup phase. So all these get discarded. Add 2 new ones to this area. The important bit here is that I'll get my pawns back unexhausted, and where they were, I have to flip over to make these more expensive where they were. Okay. Even though I did construct and moved, I don't have to flip them over, as I believe the rules state in this one. Unexhaust all my cards in my empire. Beautiful. Already got a couple things going here. Unexhaust these. I've still got 2 food, a fish, and a gold coin. And I get my workers back. And then we start the round again. I better move forward 1 round. So I'm on 6 points. Round 2, I'm going to get to 30 points. And that's 1 round, guys. I might stop the video there for 1 round, just in case you just want to see how this sort of plays. I think I've done this correct. I've only played it a few times myself. Quite an enjoyable game. But Solace, stick around if you want to see rounds 2 to 4. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed. And remember, to crush your game first, always play solo. Till next time.